William's vision blurred as the fluorescent lights of the medical bay flickered above him. His body felt like it was being torn apart from the inside, every cell screaming in protest against something foreign, something fundamentally incompatible with human biology. Through the haze of pain, he could see her, Maya, the Quelari physician whose three-fingered hand still clutched the empty injector. Her crystalline skin had turned a deep shade of violet. What William had learned was the Quelari equivalent of horror. "Humans were never meant to survive this," she whispered, her voice carrying that musical quality that made even terrible news sound almost beautiful. 12 hours earlier, the Deep Space Research Station Kepler-7 had been just another posting for William Chen, xenobiologist, and one of only 50 humans living among the 1,000-strong alien crew. The station orbited a neutron star in the Carina Arm, studying exotic matter and facilitating first contact protocols with newly spacefaring civilizations. William had been in Maya's clinic for something mundane, a standard vaccination against Rigelian flu, a minor annoyance that human immune systems handled poorly. Maya had been his physician for 3 years, ever since he'd arrived on the station. Despite the gulf between their species, they developed something approaching friendship. The Quelari were silicon-based life forms, their bodies constructed from complex crystalline matrices that processed information through quantum coherence rather than electrical signals. To them, carbon-based life was fascinatingly fragile, held together by weak molecular bonds and prone to entropy. "You seem distracted today," William had said as Maya prepared the injection. Her faceted eyes, compound structures that saw in spectrums humans couldn't imagine, had flickered with what he'd learned to recognize as embarrassment. The Council received troubling data from the hegemony. There are rumors of a plague sweeping through the Orion Spur. She turned to retrieve the vaccination cartridge from the medical synthesizer. That's when everything went wrong. The station had shuddered, a micrometeor impact, the automated systems would later report, and Maya had stumbled. Her hand had grasped the wrong cartridge. William had felt the cold press of the injector against his neck before either of them realized the mistake. Then came the fire in his veins. Now, as William convulsed on the medical table, Maya worked with desperate precision. Her fingers danced across holographic interfaces, pulling up human biological data and comparing it against what she'd accidentally injected him with. "What was it?" William managed to gasp. "Nanophage treatment," Maya said, her voice tight. "Standard Quelari antiviral protocol. The nanomachines are designed to enter cells and rewrite genetic sequences to eliminate pathogen vulnerabilities." William's background in xenobiology filled in the horrifying blanks. Quelari genetics operated on principles of quantum superposition. Their DNA equivalent existed in multiple states simultaneously until observed. Nanomachines designed for such a system would try to impose that same logic on human cells. "My cells can't exist in superposition," William said, fighting through the pain. "The nanomachines are trying to rewrite my DNA into something it can never be." Maya's crystalline hands trembled, another deeply unquellari expression of distress. "I've signaled the medical AI. It's searching for any historical data on human exposure to quantum nanophages, but William," she paused, and he could see the truth in her faceted eyes. "There is no data. No human has ever been exposed to this. The compatibility gap is too vast. The hegemony medical protocols specifically forbid cross-kingdom treatments." "How long?" William asked. "The nanomachines will finish their replication cycle in 6 hours. By then, they'll have attempted to quantum restructure every cell in your body." She didn't need to say what would happen then. William's human cells, unable to sustain quantum coherence, would simply collapse. The pain was getting worse. William could feel something changing at a fundamental level, as if his body was trying to exist in 2 states at once and failing at both. Through the medical bay's transparent aluminum wall, He could see the neutron star they orbited, its surface roiling with magnetic storms powerful enough to strip electrons from atoms. An insane idea began to form. "Maya," he said, gripping the edge of the medical table, "the nanomachines, they're trying to make my cells achieve quantum coherence, right?" "Yes, but what if we didn't try to stop them? What if we helped?" Maya's entire body seemed to still, her crystalline structure going rigid. "William, that's impossible. Human neurology can't process quantum states. Your consciousness would fragment across probability branches. You would effectively cease to exist as a coherent individual." "Unless," William said, his mind racing even as his body burned, "we could anchor my consciousness somehow, force it to maintain coherence even while my cells achieve superposition." He pointed weakly at the neutron star visible through the window. "That thing puts out more organized magnetic field energy than 1,000,000 planets. What if we used it?" Maya's eyes flickered rapidly, the Quellari equivalent of rapid thought. "You're suggesting we use the star's magnetic field as an external framework to organize your neural quantum states?" "It's insane," William admitted, "but I'm dead anyway in 6 hours, right?" For a long moment, Maya said nothing. Then her skin shifted to a determined amber color. "The station has a medical shuttle capable of approaching the neutron star's magnetosphere. We'd need to calculate the exact field strength required. Too weak and your consciousness fragments. Too strong and the magnetic pressure tears your cells apart." "How long to calculate?" 3 hours, maybe 4. "Then we'd better start now." The next 3 hours were a blur of pain and physics. Maya worked with 2 other Quellari scientists, running simulation after simulation while William felt his body becoming increasingly alien to him. He could feel himself starting to exist in multiple states, thirsty and not thirsty, hot and cold, awake and dreaming. The nanomachines were winning. "We have a solution," Maya finally announced. "But William, you need to understand, even if this works, you won't be entirely human anymore. Your cells will exist in quantum superposition, anchored by the specific magnetic resonance frequency we're about to expose you to. You'll need periodic re-exposure to maintain coherence." "So I'll be part human, part something new," William said. The idea should have terrified him, but the pain had burned away fear. "Will I still be me?" "I believe so," Maya said softly, "but I cannot promise." The medical shuttle was small, designed for emergency evacuations. Maya piloted it herself, taking them on a careful trajectory toward the neutron star's equatorial magnetosphere. Through the shuttle's sensors, William could see the incredible complexity of the magnetic field, loops and whorls of force that could rip apart unshielded spacecraft. "Entering the calculated zone in 30 seconds, Maya announced. "The exposure will last exactly 2.3 seconds. Any longer and the field strength will be fatal." William strapped himself into the medical cradle at the shuttle's center. He could feel his body coming apart now, his consciousness splintering across quantum branches. In some versions of reality, he was already dead. In others, he was screaming. In still others, he was somewhere else entirely, living lives he'd never lived. 10 seconds, Maya said. The shuttle shuddered as it entered the magnetosphere. William felt the field hit him like a physical force, immense, organized, utterly alien. It seized the quantum chaos of his fragmenting cells and brutally forced them into alignment. He screamed as every atom in his body was restructured, pressed into a new configuration that violated everything biology had taught him was possible. Then suddenly, there was clarity. William gasped, his consciousness snapping back into coherence. But he was different now. He could feel it. His cells existed in superposition, simultaneously in multiple quantum states, yet his consciousness remained unified, anchored by the magnetic imprint the neutron star had burned into his neural structure. He looked at his hands. They looked normal, but he could sense something beneath the surface, a quantum hum, a state of being that existed between what humans called possible and impossible. "William," Maya's voice was cautious, hopeful. "I'm here," he said, and his voice sounded strange even to himself, as if speaking from multiple probability branches at once, all overlaid into a single word. "I'm different, but I'm here." Maya's crystalline skin shifted through a dozen colors: relief, amazement, something that might have been joy. "You did it. You survived what no human should have survived." As they piloted back to Kepler-7, William stared at the neutron star that had simultaneously killed and remade him. He was no longer quite human, no longer quite anything the universe had seen before. He existed in the spaces between definitions, held together by forces that bent the rules of biology itself. "What am I now?" he asked quietly. Maya was silent for a moment. Then she said, "Something new, perhaps something necessary." William nodded slowly. Through the quantum haze of his new perception, he could sense things he'd never felt before: probability waves, quantum fluctuations, the strange music of superposed states collapsing into reality. Humanity had reached for the stars and found themselves inadequate for what they discovered. But now, perhaps, they had found a bridge. William Chen had died in that medical bay. What returned to Kepler-7 was the first of a new kind of human, quantum coherent, probability straddling, impossible. And in the vast darkness of space, the neutron star pulsed its magnetic heartbeat, a strange lullaby for the new thing that bore its imprint in every cell.